If you've ever listened to the C1 listening test and thought, I understood every word, but I still got the answers wrong, you're not alone. So many of my students have the same problem. They're able to understand exactly what was said, but when it comes to answering the questions of the listening test, they can find it a little bit difficult to get the correct answer. Part 1 of the C1 listening test can be quite difficult. You don't have a lot of time to read the questions. You have 3 or 6 questions consecutively, so you don't have a lot of time to think about what you've listened to. But don't worry, there's a strategy to it, and I'm going to show you that today. I'm Jen, and welcome to the C1 Listening Masterclass. Over the next few weeks, we'll be breaking down every single part of the C1 listening test, so that's 1 part per week, with real strategies that actually work. Okay, first things first, let's talk about what part 1 actually looks like. The structure. Part 1 has 3 short extracts. Each extract is about 30 to 40 seconds long, and you get 2 multiple choice questions per extract. So as you can see here, you have extract 1, and you have question 1 and 2 for that extract. Here's how the timing works. You get a few seconds to read the questions before each extract begins. Each extract will play twice, and after the extract you have a couple of seconds before the next one starts. That means you need to read, listen, decide which answer you're going to choose, and then move on pretty fast. So what are they testing in part 1? Part 1 usually tests for gist. Can you understand the main topic or purpose? Can you understand what it's been talking about? They often test detail, so specific information mentioned. Function, why is the speaker saying this, for what purpose? Opinion or attitude, so how does the speaker feel? And then whether 2 speakers agree or disagree, or what they agree on, what they disagree on. These extracts can be one person speaking, like a monologue. It can be 2 people in a conversation. It can be someone being interviewed, or it could be an announcement, a radio broadcast, a voicemail. Here's the thing, the vocabulary and topics in part 1 change wildly. Extract 1 might be about the environment, extract 2 might be somebody returning a product to a store, whereas extract 3 could be about modern art. You need to be mentally flexible and be able to switch context really quickly. So before we get into strategy, let's talk about what not to do. I've seen these mistakes hundreds of times. The first mistake is the keyword trap. Students hear a word from option B in the audio and they immediately think, oh, it must be B. But here's the thing, Cambridge loves to put keywords from wrong answers in the audio because they're testing whether you understand meaning, not just whether you understand specific words. Let's take a look at a question and I will read out the audio for you. Question, why did the man decide to change his career? And we have 3 options here. He wanted to earn more money, he felt unfulfilled in his previous role, or he was encouraged by his family. Well, my family kept telling me I should go into finance because the money is great, but honestly, I just felt empty in my old job. I needed something more meaningful. So if we listen here, the man mentioned money, the money's great, the man mentioned family, my family kept telling me. So does that mean A or C are right? No, actually, in this case, the answer would be B. The words family and the words money in this case are both distractors. He mentions them, but they're not his reason for changing his career. His actual reason is what he said here. I just felt empty in my old job. Meaning that he felt unfulfilled in his previous role. Cambridge does this on purpose. They mention keywords from wrong answers to trick you into using them. So be aware that every single audio you're going to listen to is going to contain at least one distractor to try and trip you up. You need to listen for what the speaker is actually saying. C1 level English is not just about matching keywords. Mistake number 2, not reading both questions first. You do hear each extract twice, but you shouldn't use the first listen for question 1 and the second listen for the second question, you should read both of the questions, and each time you listen, be looking for the 2 answers required for each extract. You have to read both questions before the extract starts. If you only read question 1, you miss crucial information from question 2. The third mistake, overthinking the audio. You have 20 seconds, and I think I'm being quite generous by saying 20 seconds. It might even be less, to choose your answer. The answer is always kind of clear if you're listening for the right information. So don't second guess yourself for too long. Make a choice and move on mentally to the next extract. The final mistake is translating in your head. You don't have enough time. You need to train yourself to think in English while you're listening. If you're always translating, you're always going to be 2 steps behind. That means you're going to be too slow in the exam, because the whole listening exam moves on very, very quickly, particularly in task 1. So let's take a look at the strategy. What is the actual strategy for the exam? How do we approach task 1? Like I said, before the audio plays, read both questions for the extract. You'll have about 10 or 15 seconds to do this. Don't just skim read them, actually read them. So here's an example question. What is the man's main reason for calling? To apologise for a delay, to request a refund, to clarify some information. And question 2, how does the woman respond to the man? She's sympathetic but firm, she's confused by his request, or she's frustrated with the situation. Underline the key words. That would be the next step you would take. So as you're reading, underline what are you actually listening for. So in the first extract, I would underline main reason for calling. That's what we want to know. And I'd also underline respond to the man, because again, that's what we're listening for. Underlining what you're listening for focuses your listening. In doing so, you know you need to listen for the man's explicit reason for calling, and he will probably state it clearly. And you also need to listen for the woman's tone and voice, the word choice, and her overall demeanour. Step 3 is to predict what you're listening for. Question 1 is about purpose. Why is he calling? Question 2 is about attitude. How does she feel? How does she react? So in this case, you know that you're listening for the man's explicit reason for calling, and he probably will state it clearly with some distractors. And at the same time, you'll be listening for the woman's tone of voice, her word choice, and her overall attitude or demeanour as she responds to the man. While the audio is playing, listen actively for paraphrasing. The correct answer will never or almost never use the exact words from the questions. Cambridge pretty much always paraphrases. So if the question says something like disappointed, the audio might say something along the lines of let down or not what I hoped for. If the question says recommend, the audio might say I'd suggest or you should definitely. Listen out for synonyms, listen out for paraphrasing. As well, listen for tone words and attitude words. Words like unfortunately, fortunately, actually, apparently, to be honest. These words are gold for understanding speaker attitude. After the audio, make a quick decision. You'll have a couple of seconds to choose. Use a process of elimination. Sometimes it can be easy to listen for which answer is definitely wrong, and then that leaves you with a choice of 2. So if you know something is wrong, cross it out and then decide which answer matches what you've actually heard. Finally, mark your answer and move on mentally. You've got another extract coming in a couple of seconds. Let go of the last one, clear your mind, and here we go. All right, let's practice live. Here you have an extract. Extract 1 with 2 questions. First things first, what are we going to do? We are going to apply the strategy that we've just learned. We're going to read both of the questions. What does the woman say about her new apartment? A, it's smaller than her previous one. B, it's in a more convenient location. Or C, it's better value than she expected. Question 2, how does the man react to what she says? He's surprised by her decision, he shares a similar experience, or he questions her judgment. So question 1 is about what she says about her apartment. So I know that I'm listening for her opinion or her description of it, and the options that we have are about size, location, and value. So let's go ahead and underline what does she say about her apartment, and how does the man react to what she says. Question 2 is about his reaction. So after she speaks, I need to focus on how he responds. Does he seem surprised? Does he relate to her? Or does he challenge what she said? So I want to underline in this one, how does the man react? Because I know I'm listening for his reaction. And here, okay, I don't have the audio for you here because of copyright, but I'm going to read out the audio script. Listen for the answers. So, okay, I finally moved into my new place last week. It's actually a bit smaller than my old flat, but honestly, I'm not bothered. The rent is way more reasonable than I thought it would be for this area. Oh, really? That's interesting because I had exactly the same experience when I moved to the city centre. I downsized, but saved a fortune. If you want to try answering on your own, pause the video. Question 1, what does the woman say about her apartment? So, I finally moved into my new place last week. It's actually a bit smaller than my old flat. Okay, she mentions it's smaller. That's option A. But wait, let's hear what else she says. But honestly, I'm not bothered. The rent is way more reasonable than I thought it would be for this area. Okay, there it is. The rent is way more reasonable than I thought. That's a paraphrase of option C. It's better value than she expected. She did mention it was smaller, option A, but that was a distractor. The Cambridge examiners knew you'd hear smaller and go for option A, but you're smarter than that. You listen for what she actually said about it, and what she said is that the value is better than she expected. Option B, location. She mentioned this area, but she never said it was more convenient, so you can eliminate that answer. If you're unsure, you can eliminate that one, and that will leave you with A and C, and then you only have a choice of those two. And if you were listening correctly, you would have had the answer C. Question 2, how does the man react? Remember what the man said. Oh, really? That's interesting because I had exactly the same experience when I moved to the city centre. I downsized but saved a fortune. The man says I had exactly the same experience. Option B, he shares a similar experience. Is he surprised? Not really. He says interesting, but in a relating way, not a shocked way. Does he question her judgment? No, he's agreeing with her. So in this case, the answer is B. So see how the strategy works? Let's try another one, and this time I'll go a little bit faster. What is the man's main point about education online? What are we underlining here? His main point. It lacks personal interaction, is more flexible than traditional methods, or it requires greater self-discipline. What does the woman suggest? A combination of both approaches will be ideal. Online education will eventually replace classrooms, or traditional methods are becoming outdated. I think online education is great for flexibility. You can study whenever you want. But honestly, the biggest challenge is staying motivated without a teacher right there. You need to be really disciplined. He mentions flexibility. He mentions discipline. But what is his main point? I think online education is great for flexibility. You can study whenever you want. But honestly, the biggest challenge is staying motivated without a teacher right there. You really need to be disciplined. So his main point comes when he says, honestly, the biggest challenge is staying motivated. Blah, 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 blah. You really need to be disciplined. He says the biggest challenge. That's him emphasizing option C. Flexibility was mentioned, but it wasn't his main point. What does the woman suggest? The woman says, true. Though I think the future is probably a mix of both. You know, online for some things, classroom for others, best of both worlds. She says the future is probably a mix of both. Option A. Did she say online will replace classrooms? No, she said mix. Did she say traditional is outdated? No, she wants both. Therefore, your answer is option A. Notice how the distractors work. They mention things for the wrong answers to test if you really understand the main message versus just hearing key words. Okay, so before we finish the video, let me give you my top tips for part 1. Tip 1, practice with different accents. Cambridge mainly use British accents, but see, even though the UK is really small, there are so many different accents. You might hear Irish, Northern Irish, Welsh, Scottish, Liverpool, Birmingham, London, so many different accents. So practice listening to a range of different podcasts, TED Talks or interviews from different English speaking countries. You might hear the occasional South African, Australian or American accent, but predominantly what you'll be listening to are British accents. Tip 2, read between the lines. Attitude and opinion questions require you to understand implication, not just explicit statements. So listen to how people say things, not just what they say. What are they implying with their tone? What are they implying with their words? Tip 3 would be trust your preparation. If you've practiced, your first instinct is usually right. I've seen so many students get it right on the first one, the first time they listen, and then when they listen again, they start to doubt themselves, they cross out the answer and they put a wrong one. Learn to trust yourself. Another tip would be to focus on linkers and transition words. Words like but or however or actually. Often the speaker starts to express something that sounds like one of the answers, and then they would say, but actually, and then the shift happens there and you can see it's a different answer. These words signal contrasts and important points. Train your ear to perk up when it hears them. The final tip that I can give you is to practice in exam conditions and to practice the exam tasks. It's amazing if you can, listen to music, podcasts, watch movies in English, etc. But you really need to be practicing doing the actual task. Like I said at the very beginning of the video, my students often find that they can understand every word, but when it comes to choosing the correct answer, it's easier for them to be able to do that if they've practiced the task themselves. So yes, surround yourself by English, listen to it as much as possible, but really, really get used to practicing the exam tasks and practicing in exam conditions. That means no pausing, no rewinding, get used to the time pressure. But do that when you're getting closer to the exam. For now, if you need to listen to an extract 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get the answer right, that's okay. You'll get faster with time. And remember, part 1 is only 6 questions out of 30 in the whole paper. So even if you find it challenging, there are 24 more questions to come where you can score points. So that's part 1. Part 1 has 3 short extracts, 2 questions each. Avoid the keyword trap, so listen for paraphrasing. Read both questions before the audio. Listen for tone, listen for attitude, and listen for main points. And make decisions quick and move on. Next week, we'll be tackling part 2, the sentence completion. This is the one where one word can be the difference between getting it right or getting it wrong. It's precise, it's challenging, and I'll show you exactly how to nail it. If you found this helpful, please subscribe, drop a comment telling me what are your biggest C1 listening struggles. And if you want practice materials for the C1 Cambridge exam, I have a completely free mock exam, which I'll put the link to in the description of this video. You'll get a full use of English, full reading paper. You'll also get a bonus listening paper where you can practice part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4 of the listening. And you'll also have the chance to upgrade and get your writing and speaking corrected directly and personally by me. Like I said, the link for that free mock exam is in the description. give it a go. It's really good to practice, and let me know how you get on. And good luck with your preparation, good luck with your practice, and I'll see you next week where we'll be taking a look at the listening part 2. And if you're ready to go even further on your C1 Cambridge exam journey, then join my C1 Success program. It's a 6-month program, 9 months as well is available if you need, where we will do everything you need to pass the C1 exam with success. So we'll be having one-to-one classes to work on your weak areas and your exam strategies. You'll be given a personalized weekly study plan, so you'll never have to wonder, what should I be doing? Where should I be focusing? I will tell you exactly what to do each week. You can have up to 2 writing corrections from me each week, so you'll get detailed feedback that shows you exactly how to improve your essays, improve your reports, your articles, etc. We'll also have monthly group workshops where we'll do live sessions on writing, speaking, use of English, whatever is necessary. Again, you'll have WhatsApp support available from Monday to Friday, so you'll be able to get quick answers from me when you're stuck. You don't have to wait for days for help. You can write to me, hey Jen, I don't understand this question, I don't understand this grammar, and I will reply and let you know where you're going wrong or clarify your doubts. And as well as that, you'll get all the materials that you need to study from and all the materials that you need in order to be exam ready. I'm Jen, and I've helped loads of students pass their Cambridge exams, B2, C1, C2, B1. 100% of them have passed successfully, with 95% of them passing on their first go. So if you're ready to pass your C1 Cambridge exam, reach out and let me help you pass the exam with confidence.